And then he called Jibreel alayhi salam. Oh Jibreel, come and take a look. This is my Jannah and this is the hellfire. What do you think? Jibreel alayhi salam said, Ya Allah, I don't think anybody's going to hear about Jannah except that they'll do everything they can to enter it. And he said, and I don't think anybody will hear about Jahannam except that they'll do everything possible to avoid it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then, He made some adjustments. He changed things. He surrounded Jannah with certain things. He surrounded hellfire with certain things. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Jannah became surrounded with things that are difficult and challenging. You have to wake up for Fajr. You have to give from your wealth. You have to do certain things. You don't want to do this. You have to sacrifice. You have to work. And Jahannam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surrounded it with beautiful sins. Things that you enjoy but that are bad for you. Things that have shine and glitter on the surface, but its reality is rotten. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Jibreel was told to go and take a look. And Jibreel alayhi salam, he looked at what's happening. He said, Ya Allah, I don't think anybody will enter Jannah, and I don't think anybody will avoid Jahannam. He was so scared. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the glad tidings. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Allah told Jibreel alayhi salam at that moment, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Those who have Iman, they have succeeded. Those who have Iman, they have succeeded. And so our scholars, they used to think about the hereafter. They used to contemplate on this. Even the Sahaba, they used to think about it so much that its reality was not something imaginary. It's not something that, it's a mental exercise. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned it in different pages of the Quran. Every page you turn to, there is a reference to something in the hereafter. The day of judgment, the Jannah, the hellfire. There is something being referred to in every page of the Quran. So much so that Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, he said, I reflected on these ayat so much. He said that if I were to see Jannah in front of my eyes, I would not change anything. And if I were to see Jahannam in front of my eyes, I would not change anything. In other words, he was already living his life in a way that he could see Jannah in front of his eyes and he could see Jahannam in front of his eyes. This was his reality. And that's why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Ya Umar, if there was to be a prophet after me, it would have been you. That's why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he called him Ant al-Faruq. You are the one who distinguishes. You are the one who separates between false and truth. That's why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Ya Umar, when you walk down a path, shaitan walks down a different path. If shaitan sees Umar ibn al-Khattab, he runs away and hides and goes a different way. And all of this was because of the level of Iman and contemplation and reflection of the Sahaba and the people around Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They had received tarbiyah from the best of creation. And their minds were oriented and their hearts were oriented towards what really matters. And isn't it interesting, in English we use the word matter. Something is important, we say this matters. Something is not important, we say it doesn't matter. Where does that come from? It comes from the materialistic worldview that has been injected even into our language. Even into our language. In English, something that's real, you say it's real. In Arabic, you say haqiqa. Haqiqa is reality. In English, you say reality is reality. What is the roots of it? They said rel comes from Latin, means a thing, something you can touch. So it's built into the language that something you can touch, something made of matter, that's what's real and that's what matters. And if it's not something you can touch, it's not something you can feel, it doesn't matter. Whereas in Arabic, the language of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Al-Haqiqa comes from the root Al-Haq. Al-Haq is one of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.